The year 1967. It was approximately 6 a.m. on the clock. Suddenly, the residents of nearby villages in the Adamovsky district of the Orenburg region noticed a strange glow in the sky. At first, the witnesses thought that a meteorite was flying towards the Earth at a tremendous speed. But it became clear a little later. It was a ship. And none of them knew that there was a man named Vladimir Komarov inside. Irina Komarova recalls her father's deep desire to travel to space, which led him to abstain from drinking his usual fridge milk for a month and a half, fearing it might make him ill, because then the whole mission would have gone down the drain, and he could have let down the entire Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Nerves were on edge, but already, just before the flight, Vladimir Komarov pulled himself together, tidied up his desk, answered all the letters, showed his wife where the garage keys were, and left. Yuri Gagarin himself then spoke out in favor of postponing the flight, as he understood that the Soyuz 1 spacecraft was not ready to go into orbit with his friend inside. However, when there was less than a month left until the start, Komarov realized that the flight would not be postponed under any circumstances, even though one of his friends in the KGB even advised him to refuse it. According to the book Astronaut, by authors Jamie Doran and Piers Bizzoni, Komarov replied as follows: "If I don't fly, they'll send the backup." And the backup astronaut was none other than Yuri Gagarin. Vladimir Komarov couldn't do that to his friend. And he made it clear that he should be in this capsule, not Yura. The design of the Unions turned out to be quite successful. In a modernized form, they are still in use today. But the first ship, as it turned out later, was a bit raw and not ready for a test flight. But the higher-ups needed to hurry, so as not to, God forbid, lose the palm of primacy to the Apollo being created in the United States of America. So there was a command not to step back. The day of the flight was approaching. Everyone's mood was at zero. Serious problems with the ship's control were discovered. The pre-flight test did not inspire any optimism. The technicians who inspected the ship found just over 200 problems. There was a gloomy atmosphere at the spaceport. But despite all this, on April 23, 1967 in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, for the purpose of flight tests, a new spacecraft, Soyuz 1, was launched into Earth's orbit, piloted by the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics cosmonaut, hero of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics engineer colonel Vladimir Mikhailovich Komarov. And then the first problems appeared. Komarov went on air with the command and reported about the emergency situations. Feeling good, cabin parameters are normal, but the left solar panel did not deploy. HF communication is down. Some instruments failed to start due to electricity shortage. Next, the backup antenna of the telemetry system did not open, and the visor did not retract, which protects the solar star sensor from engine exhaust. This meant that it was impossible to orient the ship in space using the sun and stars. The initial attempt to alter the ship's orbit failed. It began to spin on its axis, and when Komarov tried to correct the problem, the spin only intensified. After this, the command came to cancel the launch of Soyuz 2, which was supposed to go into orbit to Soyuz 1 to carry out the world's first docking. The crew of Soyuz 2 was supposed to transfer to Komarov's ship through open space and land in it. The State Commission ordered Komarov to land. This meant that the mission had failed, but Komarov took the command calmly. The braking engine unit kicked in somewhere over Africa. The descent began. Sometime later, near the southwestern borders of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the descending ship entered the radio visibility zone of ground tracking stations, but the connection with Soyuz was lost. There was silence. Soon, Komarov's voice cut through the command post. He reported calmly, unhurriedly, without any agitation. The object has passed the zone. Visibility time, 2 seconds. Then, a clarification. The estimated landing point is 50 kilometers east of Orsk. But then another problem arose. At an altitude of 7 kilometers, the brake parachute couldn't pull the heavy main parachute of the large ship out of the container. As it turned out later, almost 3 tons of force was not enough. But no one checked this in advance. The backup parachute deployed, but due to the rotation of the device, its lines got twisted. The ship was hurtling towards the Earth at an incredible speed, and the soft landing engine couldn't dampen such a rapid fall. And the ship crashed into the Earth. Upon impact, the descent module cracked, a fire broke out inside. The ship had to be buried in sand, as the metal was simply melting before our eyes. When everything was finally extinguished, rescuers found the remains of the astronaut inside. The last documented words of Komarov, according to some sources, were, "I'm in the chair, strapped in, feeling great, but things aren't going quite right." The remains of Vladimir Komarov were buried by the Kremlin wall. A month and a half after his death, soldiers from a nearby missile division erected a makeshift obelisk at the crash site and planted birch trees. But trees don't grow well in the dry steppe, so a custom has developed where passing drivers bring along a canister of water in advance and water them.